of course, participants, no? I believe that the very reason why you are here, it's because it's a requirement, not only because you are going to have your masteral thesis, but of course, probably on the point of getting into so much of motivation and somehow learn something that will actually get into into your feet, no, in terms of getting into research. So at this point in time, let me share my slides. Um, um, Vanessa, hope you don't mind if you can actually consider me as a co-host so that I can share my slide.
Definitely, sir. Let me tag team.
Sorry, I'm seeing Glenda here. Hi, Miss Glenda. Okay, thank you so much. So forgive me if some of the slides may not be so okay. This is a very short notice, but how can I say no to Sir Rocky? It's because he's been a very good confidant, no? Ever since the research days, because I'm the time that I'm not yet, yeah, I think it was last or 2 years ago. I wasn't part of PUP yet, but he's getting me already as a reviewer for, I think there's so many proposals of the faculty in the College of Business. All right. So magandang umaga po muli. Let's start the ball rolling. So making a research proposal, boring, no? Parang everybody will actually agree with me. No? When it comes to talking about research, everybody will actually say it's boring, it's very demanding, mahirap. These are the, the that stereotypes. No? But I think even if I actually sugarcoat with it, it goes with those particular areas of interest, especially if you're not really interested doing research or just a merely a requirement out of which. But you know what? I always tell my students, since you are here already, and since this is a requirement, let's make the most out of which. And for that particular purpose, let me share with you some of the concepts that I have, no, with regard to making a research paper. Definitely on the proposal. So I believe also that there are undergraduate students and graduate students who participate in this particular webinar. So allow me to share my inputs on how we can actually do a better making of a research proposal. Let's start the discussion with the purpose of the research proposal. Basis of formulating a research topic, the preliminaries, and of course, we will not forget about the school format. You know what? Sir Jojo has been invited to so many universities, masteral, doctoral proposals, etc., and all, even undergraduate most of the time. And you know what? I have to adhere to what is really the policy of the university. If there is nothing like a finalized version of what should be the school format, then that's the time that I have to come in. But if there will be like a policy coming from the school, we have to agree and we have to abide, of course, no, with the school format. Otherwise, those formats will not be there, no? So that's why when Sir Rocky asked me about this particular thing, I asked him, is there a school format that I need to follow in making a research proposal? Because if this is something like coming from me, probably, oh, sabi ni Sir Jojo, ganito, but ganito, ganyan, ganyan. But definitely the thing is, we have to abide with the school format. Now, the first thing that I want you to do is to unlearn. No? Why is that so? It's because one, if you keep on pushing with your ideals way back your days when you were in your senior high school, especially for the undergraduates, or perhaps from your college days from a different university for those who are taking their masters, and for those who are taking their doctoral in a different university, I want you to unlearn because you will not appreciate what I'm going to talk about. It's because, of course, every university has its own format, has its own guidelines with regard to how to make a research proposal, and that's something that you have to, unlearn. It's because definitely it will guide you. It will it will be easier for you to absorb and embrace those kinds of things when you are to do your research paper. So every time that I'm going to approach a particular school, let me see if there is a school format or not. And definitely, I have to agree, and probably most of you will have to agree with me, no? If we have like new leaders in our research center, definitely chances are there's a big possibility that the format will also be changed. So change is practically everywhere. So we really have to be very flexible, no? Because I want you to unlearn, and that's the first thing that I want you to do. Because if you are going to contradict whatever is stated in the approved school format, then definitely it's going to be difficult for you to embrace everything, no? So yung mga nakaraan na natin, tanggalin na natin, kalimutan na natin, dapat binabaon na sa limot. But of course, no, the content of that will always be the same at some point, but definitely that's the first thing that you have to do, no? Know the school guidelines, know the school policy, especially the research policy. Now, as we move on, let me ask the question, para kanino ka ba bumabangon? And that's something that you have to ponder when you're looking at a research proposal. Probably at my stage, no? You will actually tell me, Sir Jojo, ikaw ba, bakit ka ba gumagawa pa ng research? Because I want to help already. I will not be surprised if the undergraduates will actually tell me just for compliance, because we are forced to do one. Definitely those are comments or answers that you guys will actually have in your mind, no? For example, what about in the chat box? Can you tell me para kanino ka ba gumagawa ng research paper? Can I hear some uh, people here in over the chat box? Para kanino ka ba gumagawa ng research paper? Let me hear. For policy making purposes. Oh, that's a good one. No? In fact, the one that is being introduced by Vanessa is actually for policy making because I want you to have an accreditation, a justifiable accreditation for farm tourism by the Department of Tourism. That's good, Christine. Thank you for the food, Christine. I was surprised somebody's calling me and I have to go down to the condo and then a food panda was actually telling me something about it. To give back to our company, that's a good thing also. However, we have to differentiate the proprietarial platform of a business research to an academic research. No, that's something that we have to look into. It's because when you talk about applied or business research, particularly proprietarial to a particular company, you cannot publish it. No, unless the company will actually allow you to do it, or they will allow you to publish it, even if it is for an academic purpose, but you have a go signal with them that this will actually appear in your research in terms of publication, then it's okay, no? Para sa love of wisdom. Wow, that's good. No, because you're looking also at the knowledge-based researches. So you're not actually after a particular action research, but you're looking for knowledge. No, because you want to share. You want to discover na may ganito na palang mga pangyayari. Because you want to add no knowledge to the discipline or to the academic community in general. That's good. To help yourself, the target responders or specific group, that's very, very okay. No? Because definitely, well, when it comes to significance of the study, we have to consider our consumers, our target respondents. Anyway, para naman sa kanila yung paper, most importantly. That's why you're getting them as respondents, no? In most cases. To legitimize a concept, that's correct, no? That will be to help provide new insights to the underserved sectors, no? I will quote one of my idols, Josiah Go. He's actually good at, on top market. And that's a very particular, notion common to Josiah Go when he's actually telling things about market, no? Oh, I love the answer to solve a problem because definitely a research paper cannot go without a problem. That's practically things that you have to consider. There should be a problem. Otherwise, nothing is actually researchable. You stop doing a research when that is the thing, no, for a particular research. Now, as we move on to spread the intellectual of future generations, that's correct, no? Because we want to know about the present structure as against the previous one, as of course, as opposed to the possible what will be the future predictions, no, of the behavior of a particular situation. So definitely those things are purpose of the research proposal. But it could be on the sense that it's a requirement of the school, diba? Yung mga tipong wala kang choice. It could be on an area of a company need. That's also a possible thing based from the previous answers. Or it could be a commission research. The more that I love it, no, because of the budget and of course the possibility of going around and help a specific community. And of course, no, there are so many purpose, but all the things that you are mentioning are all correct. It serves a particular purpose. Now, if you are very concrete about the purpose of the research, then it's going to be easy for you. No? It's very logical that when you start a research, you don't want to know the purpose. Bakit ba ako gumagawa ng research? No? And I'm telling you personally, no, at this, I'm 42, no? And I'm telling myself anymore. Probably everybody will go to that kind of stage. No, when I was like in college, I'm really go for presentation, for defenses, etc. and all. Probably when I was like in my masteral day, definitely the talk is about more of international conferences, journals, publications, etc. But now I'm in my doctoral stage. I want to give back more to the society. For some reason, I don't know. No, probably I'm not really naman saturated with those areas of presentations, publications, etc. But I want to give back to the society. I want to be inspired. That's why I put in tone. It's because I want you to be inspired. That research comes with a purpose. It's not something that you just have to do because you are required. Come on, people. We are all required. It's a compliance. No. Without which you cannot graduate, you cannot finish and everything. But let's put deeper meaning to that so that it will be more relevant, it will be more fruitful, it will be more enriching on your part. Ang sarap kasi sa pakiramdam, no? That you're actually practically considering all of this in terms of research, no? Sabi ko nga, you're gonna be spending time, money, diba? Probably sacrificing yourselves into your family life, even love life, no? Why don't you try to make the most out of it? Andyan ka na rin lang eh, no? And I want you to consider that, no? Now, as we go along, definitely the area of a requirement will always be there. Sabi ko nga, it could be an undergraduate thesis, especially for marketing. Even if my examples are practically geared towards marketing. No? And of course, in your masteral, you're looking at your masteral paper or your dissertation paper. So definitely all of these are requirements. And sabi ko nga, no, and I'm telling myself also, this is a requirement. Definitely, if it is a requirement, it has to have a checklist without which you cannot go further. No? And that's something that you have to convince yourself that whether you like it or not, those terms, the whether you like it or not, you guys will also do it. And I'm also doing my doctoral dissertation. If you were able to determine already the purpose, that's something that will be a guiding factor in order for you to create your research. No? Now, let's take a look at some of the bases, no, on how we can formulate a research topic in order for us to have a better research proposal. The first that I have to consider and share with you is the research agenda. Whether you like it or not, you really have to look into the agenda of the Polytechnic University of the Philippines, wherein not only the College of Business Graduate Studies will actually be there, but everybody will have to be aligned. And that's how important agenda is. It's because wala ka pa sa PUP, you guys will actually consider that PUP is aiming for, you know, a community. PUP is aiming for a research trusts, no? And it can only be done through an agenda. And to share with you, no, and I actually get it from the university research agenda, is categorized into 5 general themes. It could be the peace, security, and poverty reduction. So that's the first research agenda. The second one is accelerating infrastructure development, competitive industry and entrepreneurship, social and cultural development, conservation, protection, and rehabilitation of the environment towards sustainable development. Now, since we are in business, where do we align, no, our research proposal? Sir, would there be any possibility that we can align ourselves to peace, security, and poverty reduction even if we are in business? The answer is yes, no, especially on the point of poverty reduction. Definitely, if your proposal is working on uh, business approaches, no, or livelihood programs that will actually focus on businesses, or definitely livelihood programs into small or micro or cottage entrepreneurship level, that's a wow, no? And I have a soft touch for that, no? Even in tourism, I'm looking always for the cultural significance of a particular locality in the urban, in the rural area. And that is something to me, and that is something that will actually create so much of purpose, no, when I'm doing research. Again, it's all about business, no? Accelerating infrastructure development, definitely, whether you like it or not, or when you're looking at information technology, when you're looking at, the very context of infrastructure, definitely talks about business, how the impact of infrastructure can add, no, or increase probably into the progress or growth rate of a particular economy. And it's practically economics. It boils down to business, no? Wow, number three is definitely a bullseye. No, you're looking at competitive industry and entrepreneurship. I don't need to explain about this thing. This is something that comes like a vernacular to all of us already, a jargon to that purpose. What about number four? I'll be biased, no? Sabi ko nga sa inyo, forgive me if that my tone will actually talk about social relevance. Probably I'm in that stage already, no? About social and cultural development, no? This is something that will actually ignite, no, my motivation if I hear something about social and cultural development. In fact, I'm going to propose another research with the National Commission for the Culture and the Arts, no, the NCCA, about commodification of the commodifications of festivals, no. So I want to bring, a good support mechanism for the NCAA for the festivals of the country, not to the point of having it commercially done. No, I want to look at the cultural perspective. When will be the time that NCCA will actually help and recognize and somehow, classify on how they can help culturally inclined festivals in the Philippines. No. And of course, number five, we'll talk about conservation, protection, and rehabilitation of the environment towards sustainable development, which is very, very business in nature. Now, having said that, let me hear your chat again. Where do you think you can align your research proposal into the five general themes of the university research agenda? And this is PUP. This is not Sir Jojo's agenda. This is PUP's research agenda. May I hear messages over the chat box? Where do you think so far, at this point in time? At least you're getting into that kind of perspective that, hey, I want to align myself into this kind of thing. And let's make a research proposal a lot more. Oh, uh, Miss Anniversary Valbuena here is talking about competitive industry and entrepreneurship. I will not be surprised if will be your choice, no, because it's practically aligned with business, no. What about the others, no? Agenda will talk about a particular thing. You cannot actually do it like in a business thing, no? For the risk management and digital economy. So I think more on protection, because you're looking at a risk management basis. So that's good. The conservation, protection, and rehabilitation of the environment towards sustainable. That's a good thing, Christian. No, thank you for that. So these things will actually be your guiding factor. And I hope you will also help the university in recognizing these general themes, no? But I will not be surprised if the College of Business Graduate Studies will have their own research focus. So after the research agenda, you have your own research focuses, and I hope you will try to seek for that. No, it's because uh, social development, marketing for nonprofits. So that's a good thing also, no? How do we actually do societal efforts in terms of nonprofit organization? That's a good thing also. I think that will work on the social and cultural development of a particular organization. Now, if after determining your research agenda, you're now ready to consider the discipline, no? Most of us, even me, no, I'm practically guilty of this one. The first time I was thinking about writing my dissertation, my advisor told me, Joe, you're into business. What you're doing is more on education. Palibasa teacher ako. So, nabongga ako ng ano ko, na ano ako ng advisor ko, di ba? It's because we are in business. So the focus should actually in business. Let me give you a one particular thing. I was like telling my teacher, I want to prove that marketing should actually be done regardless of the profession, even for medical courses, even for architectural, even for engineering, marketing should always be there. Because I will not be surprised at the end of the line. They will actually talk about, they will be talking about business in nature, no? So let's say, for example, I was like proving to my teacher or to my advisor at the time that, ma'am, I want to talk about marketing as because my end point, you know what's the purpose? I want to prove that marketing should be embedded to all courses. So I will not be surprised if my mentality the time that I was proposing it, that was 10 years back, no? And I was like telling, baka mamaya it's also a good basis for, the Department of Education to consider that under, no, the senior high school. That's why principles of marketing is already given to senior high school. And see, kung natuloy lang, no? Sayang. But that's an educational thing. That's not a business thing. Although the one that you're talking about is a marketing in nature and how marketing can actually be a viable tool for it to be an introductory course to all types of professions, but the nature is still education. And that sometimes, no, we actually forget about things that, oo nga, nasa business ka pala ako. So we have to talk about our discipline, no? We're going to talk about the industry that you're going to focus. It's more on business, not education in nature. So let's talk about business here. Lahat ito negosyo, commercial, trade, transaction, sales, no? For that purpose. And all these things will actually be your viable tool in order for you to consider that it's going to be the focus of your research. No? Nakakatulong ba ako or ginugulo ko kayo so far? May I have a thumbs up or perhaps comment, reaction over chat box? Hello? Are you still there? It helps. Thank you so much. I think one, masaya na ako. At least one of the many, no, will actually give me already an instant that somehow I'm helping. No? Thank you so much. Let's look into the business associations. Sige nga, let me ask you, what are examples or areas of interests that you are into business associations at this point in time? Ako kasi may mga idol akong business associations that every time I'm going to do a research, I'm always checking them. No, in the field of tourism, of course, I'm always looking at the APTA, the Asia Pacific Tourism Research Association. I'm also looking at the ASEAN Tourism Research Association, wherein Parth is already a member. I was the one who facilitated Parth to become a member of that. I'm also looking at APACRI. I'm also looking at the Travel and Tourism Research Association, the TTRA, the grandest, talagang super, ano ko yun, big dream in terms of, attending one of them. Meron kayong tinitingnan ng mga business associations. It could be an industry in nature or it could be an academic nature but pertaining to business associations. Sige nga, let me know what are PICPA for one is a good material, no? Talaga namang for accountancy purposes, walang problema. All you need to do is to get your research go to their website, references, and you will learn from them. No, you will learn from them. Let me hear from Sam. What else are other associations and organizations that you know about business? Army, of course. Who would have known Army? Of course, founded by Dr. Baconci, no? The PAMA, of course. Ako nga, I was looking at map kanina when I'm actually looking, preparing your materials, no? The Management Association of the Philippines, ECOP, of course. PMAP, the Personal Management Association of the Philippines. You know what? Even if I'm a marketing by discipline, I was, part of human resource before and when I was still with Philippines. So all of these things to the Philippine Chamber of Commerce, no? Now, if you are really going into this kinds of association, the more that I am going to ask you to look for the conferences, no? Well, for industry types of associations, I will not be surprised if you will just getting a title, the gist of that. But if you're looking at call for papers for business organizations, then definitely it will actually help you. Ano ba mga bago ngayon? Ano ba ang dapat kong makita? And then you will align your interest, no? Now, looking at this one, just for example, no? I'm always following. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, forgive me because my discipline is in marketing. You're looking at the American Marketing Association. Now, 2022, we have the AMO Winter Academic Conference, and it's going to be held next year, February 18 to 22 at Las Vegas, Nevada. So definitely, it could be a hybrid, no? It could be in your place or probably uh, a virtual platform, no? So if you are looking at this generation or perhaps research topic, no, the more that you will actually be surprised about bakit kaya ito ang mga tracks na gusto ng AMA or the American Marketing Association. You know what? Everything is going back to basics at this point in time. You know why? Because we have a new behavior,
Tapos
no?
all-purpose plan.
We have a new platform, no? And that will actually lead us to so many conference tracks. It could be in advertising, promotion, and marketing communications. Let me just highlight some about big data, analytics, AI, and machine learning. No, I'm not really sure if we have business analytics already in PUP, but that becomes a fundamental, no, parang a basic, a common, no, course for all programs in the business. But I'm also aware that there is already a program for business analytics. So definitely on how Mansfield and Fielders, no, are good friend of mine. And definitely, if we're looking at AI, no, artificial intelligence, and how this robotics and technology can actually assist us, no. And the third one for consumer behavior, yes, not really specific to consumer behavior, but definitely from PUP also. Apparently, it was defunct already, and now it's under the Council of Marketing Educators under the Philippine Marketing Association. No, the current president is Dr. Jennifer Ramos. You know what? In consumer behavior, dati kasi talagang ayoko na ng consumer behavior. Parang, sorry for the term, ha? Lack of a better term. I find it too shallow, no? Let's say, for example, the consumer behavior of blah, 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 blah. I'm not consumer behavior studies. Why? Because we don't have any existing study when this pandemic or during this pandemic time. And I don't know already the approach. Could it be a hybrid thing? I'm just collaborating a research paper with my students, and one of our proposals is actually to get into a service landscape, no, a service scape of a particular coffee shop, especially regardless of the announcement of the IATF. So they have already this kind of matrix. The persons or particularly your consumers or your customers, how will they respond into the declaration of the IATF? And that's something that very, very okay. Now, it's also okay to look into what comes after that, no? So these things are practically good in nature, no? Noong una, hindi ko kasi pinapansin kasi nasasawa na ako sa consumer behavior. Sabi ko, charge it to the senior high school. But now, let's go back to the basics, no? Now, do not forget, of course, your personal interest, no? I think this is something that you have to consider also. Kahit ang dami-dami, you have the agenda, you have the conferences, you have the discipline, you do not forget also your personal interest, no? It's because it's going to be very motivating, inspiring if you are really the one, no? Really proposing your research topic. And of course, consider also the social relevance. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, I'm very biased, no? This is my tone. I would like to believe, no, that if you're looking at, universal acceptance, international caliber, kasi you really have to look into, magpropose na rin lang ako sa school ko, gusto ko yung ipopresent ko naman, pwede din pwede din sa organizations, pwede rin sa interest ko, pwede sa discipline ko, at gusto ko kahit papano with social relevance. Something that will actually help the community. Something that you can be proud of afterwards. Anyway, I have to go back to my previous statement. Gagastos ka, I have to spend time, money, effort, sacrifice and compromise your love life and even your family life, community life, and social life. So make the most out of which, no? I'd like to believe that when you are looking for a topic and has a social relevance, it becomes more fulfilling, no? It becomes more fulfilling. Now, let's take a look at an example, no? Traditional versus digital. I'd like to quote my idol, my research advisor, no, Dr. Donald Kim was now the Chief Operating Officer of Dito Telecommunications. And he mentioned way back the time that we are still in the classroom about advanced marketing management in my doctoral days. No? Sabi niya sa amin, in 2020, TV will actually be gone. And it's happening right now. Don't you think so? So it's losing already, it's declining in terms of purpose. So looking at the tri-media is something like, oh, no, may nagbabasa pa ba ng dyaryo? I for one, I don't buy newspaper anymore. May nakikinig pa ba sa radyo? Maybe, but I am more on teleradyo, no? I'd rather watch over television and see also, even if they are airing on a radio, they are actually providing, of course, television platform also, all both at the same time. No, that's the thing now. So what about television? Slowly, no, it's degrading. Imagine some of the websites, some of the apps are practically advertising over television at this point in time. But who knows, no? It might be the different platform already. It will be an exchange already on how the digital will actually be a platform where television programs will be advertising themselves. So it's very, very apparent also. Fun and reading pop. Yeah, that's something, no? So these are, areas that you have to consider. So it becomes socially relevant because everybody will be interested in it. Everybody will actually be, will be given so much of information with regard to this aspect. So all of this will be encompassing in formulating a research topic. Did I help you on that particular edge? Or did I pressure you so much? Sagot nga kayo sa chat box. Nakatulong ba ako? Or ginulo ko kayo lalo? May I ask? No pressure, sir. Vanessa, thank you so much. No, what about something that, I want to have a very casual discussion. It's because ang boring kasi ng research, di ba? Oo, naminin ko naman yan. I don't find it most embarrassing moment in the Philippine television. And that very epic story of Janina is actually part of that. It's very helpful. Thank you, Mauro. Anika, big help. Need po talaga that's correct. That's correct. No? So whether you like it or not, mga kapatid everybody will have to to be aligned, no? And the more stories will actually come. Uh, thank you. All right, so let's keep moving. Now, there are preliminaries that I want you to consider also when you're doing research. Halimbawa, sa undergraduate ka na and you are doing your graduate studies as well. What are the things that you have to consider? Let me be honest about you, and this is something experiential in nature. Do you agree with me? You choose the best advisor. Tama ba ako? Do you agree with me? You choose the best advisor. Sir me, Sir, Sir Rocky, andito ko pala. You know what? To be honest with you, no, kami sa Philippine Association of Researchers for Tourism and Hospitality, kapag ako umuupo ding panel, nalulungkot ako na even yung format hindi na-check ng advisor. Tapos i-endorse. Di napapahiya na yung bata, napapahiya pa yung advisor. Kaya ako, I always believe that there should be advisor endorsement form para malaman din ng panel na yung advisor hindi nagtrabaho or it's the other way around, hindi nagpa-advise yung bata. So these are the things that you have to consider. You choose the best advisor. Now, choosing the best advisor will also talk about the discipline. Ay kung ako'y kukunin mong advisor sa financial management, hindi kita tatanggapin. Ay malay ko naman doon. Although I have some knowledge, but definitely my field of interest is really into tourism, hospitality, and marketing. No? So if this is even HR, no? But if you're looking at the best advisor, syempre, you have to deal with those persons that you know who are really also researcher. No? I'd like to believe that an advisor should actually walk the talk. If you are really an advisor, be a researcher first so that it will actually be so. You know what? I have a research proposal. When was that? Naalala ko to lang, no? That being an advisor has a role of being a guidance counselor also to the advisees. Not only technical know-how, not only administerial in nature, because as an advisor, you really have to know by heart, no, the policies and guidelines of the school. Kasi advisor ka eh, no? So if this will actually be so encompassing to the point of the advisor, you really have to go for it. And that's a very important factor when you do a research thing, no? Now, looking at the other aspect, no? Let's talk about the respondent, no? Ito lagi yung pinag-aawayan natin, ano? If you think your respondents are very difficult to look and to somehow get their agreement, mga kapatid, don't force yourself. Hindi ka matatapos. 'Di ba? And if that will actually be your focal point, then definitely don't get them. Change probably the focus of your study. Don't insist, no? Ang hirap eh. And this is reality, no? And I'm telling you, don't fight for respondents na napakahirap. For one, sabi ko sa mga bata hotel industry, lalo na pag Christmas time, walang papansin sa yung hotel employee. Aawayin ka pa yan pag pinagpilitan mo unless may kakilala ka sa loob. So it's an under the table, system kung tutuusin. But if you don't know anyone inside, come on people, don't force yourself. Walang papansin sa'yo. Ha? Unless may kakilala ka and you have a good set of network. Diba? So again, you really have to look into who will be your respondents. So iglagay yan sa utak. You have the best advisor. Sino bang pwede kong respondent? Another area of interest is that before ka palang mag-draft ng research and objective, and something that you have to consider your objectives also, even your topic, is that you have to know whether your research will focus on quantitative qualitative or mixed approach, no? Ako sa mga undergraduate, wag niyo nang pahirapan muna. Hayaan mo na lang yung mga graduate studies that will look into the mixed approach. Anyway, my purpose when you're looking at a research paper for an undergraduate will be the appreciation of the discipline, of the researchers of discipline. And of course, imbibing the culture. Yung mga graduate studies, yan tayo mag-away, no? O about uh, peculiarity on what particular research designs you guys will actually have. So dapat alam mo na before ka pala magawa ng proposal. Should I be focusing on a quantitative, qualitative, or mixed approach? No? But of course, I'm not saying qualitative is the best at this point in time. Quantitative is the best. Tapos na ako sa ganung laban. It will always be dependent on the objective that you guys will actually have. No? The problem ng specific objectives, alam mo na dapat kung paano tatakbo, 'di ba? So that's why early on, before you start your schooling, your research proposal, even nga pag title, sinasama din natin ito. So you really have to know what particular research design should I actually encompass, no, with my research proposal. Another area, the resources. Financially, you really have to consider. Kasi kung wala kang pera at hindi ka ready, I'm talking about the graduate school ha, oo. Medyo mahihirapan ka dyan. You have to be prepared, no? Ako talaga, when I did my research, my resources, may ipon naman ako. When I took my master's, talagang nag-resign ako sa company, hindi ko kayang pagsabayin. Iba-iba naman kasi tayo, no? Nag-resign ako, may ipon naman akong konti. So I decided to stop schooling. And then I have to consider also my finances. No? So you really have to consider your resources. At hindi ko rin kinaya yung ako lang mag-isa nagde-data gather. You know what I did? I really hired people from the independent research field interviewers, no? So it so happened that the time my advisor happens to be the great Professor Corazon Arboleda, no? From a research agency and a communication research professor. And she's the one who told me, Joe, if you cannot have, because I'm actually considering 400 household heads in Manila at that time, so it's going to be impossible. So you really have to pay for the field interviewers. But you yourself, hindi mo talaga matatapos yun. And the approach is actually personal interview. So it's very difficult, no? So you have to be ready with your resources. But for undergraduate, hindi naman masyado. Oh, I think your teachers and your research advisors and teachers will actually guide you on how you can actually defer on paying, no? Some other services, no? Again, sabi ko nga, pag undergraduate, I would like to believe your focus is more on the study, no? Or research appreciation of the discipline. And access to information. Kapag wala, huwag mo nang ituloy. Huwag mo nang pahirapan ng sarili mo. No? Especially if your methodology is on an in-depth interview wherein you are somehow required to have 3 sessions for 2 hours per session. Tapos ayaw naman pala, wag na. As long as they will not allow you, mga kapatid, do not force yourself. No? So you'll have to look into other ways on how you can actually get access. Huwag mo nang pahirapan ang sarili mo because you'll not be able to do your research. Now, I'm talking about in a practical way because I want to help you. I want to, ease you out in so many things that you have to consider. Ako, I will not be surprised, no? Talagang mahihirapan ka. At some point, you have to ask yourself, ano ba talaga? Sino ba talaga? Paano ko ba ito gagawin? It's natural. That means you're human, no? And you will have to be guided talaga by an advisor, especially if you consider yourself as a neophyte about being a researcher, then definitely advisor will actually be a viable tool, no? Minsan ito ang ganda ng proposal. They would like to know also the services being rendered by events places. My first question, they have access to information? Do you have anyone who knows about events places. They're particularly telling me about SMX, World Trade Exhibit, World Trade Centers. And then when I asked them, do you have somebody else inside? Do you think they will be able to entertain you at this point in time when all of these facilities are being converted to quarantine facility, and at the same time the other one, they're converted into office spaces? Oink. Wala. Kasi I'm talking in a practical sense wherein your research proposal will actually be implemented. And then if it is not on a practical level, wag mo nang pagpilitan. Maawa ka sa sarili mo. Even if your paper is the most content-wise very good, walang problema. Pero when it comes to the implementation, this is something also that I'm looking into. Methodology is very important to me also. Kahit gaano pa kaganda ang theoretical framework, conceptual framework, and all, if your methodology is not really practical, feasible, I don't think it will actually be matter. Will matter, no? Do you agree with me? Huh? Mga kapatid? Let me hear your sides on the chat box. That's correct, no? Talagang wag mo nang pagpilitan. It's going to be very, very crucial to you. No? So I hope you will actually look into this particular reminders and tip on how you're supposed to do your research proposal. And in fact, no, when you are to face your panel during your research proposal presentation, you have to present with certain conviction level, because you are to assure them that, hey, before you comment on my paper, everything is so well defined, everything is checked already, we have the approval already, and we know for a fact that these things will actually happen. So that kung ako ang panel, I'll be impressed. O meron ka na palang access, o ano pang sasabihin ko? Hindi yung pagpunta mo sa akin sa research proposal, you will just tell me, sir, we're looking at the possibility of having our respondents to be the following: hotel employees of Sofitel, hotel employees of Marriott, hotel. Ako, Diyos ko, utang na loob. Para ka nagsumusundok sa buhay. Now, if these things will actually help you, try to ponder again. Oo nga, no? Kasi kahit anong ganda ng objectives mo, kahit anong ganda ng theoretical operational framework mo, sayang lang. Oo. And most of the time, this is where you battle with your advisor, no? And this is where you will actually find difficulty also, no? And of course, you have to consider the locale, no? Where is going to be the locale of your study, no? And it's very important that you have to consider, where will I get the respondents? Are the respondents should be physically present in the situation, etc. and all, no? So at least these parameters will actually tell you, in order for you to think what should be the best research proposal, no? More than anything else about the format. Kasi when you have these things already in mind, things will actually be so smooth in terms of you writing the proposal. Kasi andyan na lahat eh. It's all in your mind. You have the confidence already. You have the conviction of telling your panel everything is there. Then all you need to do is to write it, no? So if these things will actually happen, then it's going to be a smooth flow. Okay. Now, looking into that, so you have all these evidences, you have this research, you have this purpose, etc. and all. Let's look at the school format. It's the right time that you guys are ready for this one. No? Now, again, when I check with the Saraki about the school format, definitely he forwarded to me because I wanna speak to you in terms of what is the rule of the university. Because if I will have it my way, I don't want naman, again, based from my disclaimer a while ago, I don't want you to tell the story about, sabi ni Sir Jojo, ganito, ganyan, ganyan. So it will always be best, no, to look into the school format. And I myself, I have to adhere and obey and abide, no, with the school format. It's because that's going to be our groundwork, no. So let's take a look at what is the expectation of PUP when it comes to the school format. Let's discover these things together. However, before doing that, no, are you fond of reading journal? Let me have the answer. No, tama ba? Are you fond of reading articles and journals or periodicals? Sige nga. Honest answer over chat box. Are you fond of reading? Hindi masyado, sir. Gusto ko yan. Slight. That's good. There's nothing wrong to be honest. Honesty is the best policy. It may be a cliche, but it will always be a good at standard. No? Slight. That's good to hear. What about if I tell you that if you are a teacher of research, and honest to goodness, no. But you know what? Reading articles and journals, this is the best sleeping tool. No? Don't you think so? Walang sinabi ang mga melatonin na yan. Walang sinabi ang mga kung ano-anong iinumin, mga kung ano-anong humidifier na pangpaamoy. Pinakamagaling, magbasa ka ng journal, magbasa ka ng article. That's the best sleeping tool. Sinasabi ko sa iyo, wala pang isang paragraph, tulog na tulog ka na, no? Mm-mm. Anyway, you know what? If you're a research teacher, ang requirement ko talaga kaagad when you're proposing things to me, no, after we've discussed already what particular topic is, gusto ko kaagad ng 3 journals. Gusto ko kaagad ng 3 articles. It could be a peer-reviewed or refereed articles or scholarly journals, not so much on periodicals. I'd like to get peer-reviewed scholarly journals because I'm looking at the theoretical framework already of the article and the scholarly journals. Kapag nakita ko yon at kapag na-explain ng bata sa akin, there's a big instance. I will actually have to get your paper. Kasi kahit ako, hindi ko naman, I'm not telling that I'm an expert of everything. No? Without the journal, without the article, get lost. I cannot entertain you. Kasi, ang hirap eh. If you don't, you know when you are conducting research, everything should be evidence, no? There should be evidences, no? There should be a source. You have to cite and etc. So bago ka research, so kung may topic ka na at wala kang makuhang evidences, it's going to be difficult. So it has to be, a complementary to each other. May topic ako, I have to have an article. I have to have a scholarly or peer-reviewed article and a scholarly journal. Boom. If that thing will actually be your case, then Sir Jojo, you have a 75% that it will actually be approved. No? So these are my parameters. This is how I actually challenge my students when it comes to research proposal. Kaso mga kapatid, I have to be honest with you, teaching research for the past 12 years, nakakasawa din, ano? With regard to yung paulit-ulit na lang. Let me tell you one, for once in tourism prior to the pandemic, everybody will have to propose to me, Sir Jojo, we want to talk about Intramuros. Sir Jojo, we want to talk about Rizal Park. Sir Jojo, we want to talk about Hinulugan Taktak. Basta iniisip ko, ano bang problema niyo sa mga lugar na yan? Ako'y sawang-sawa na, di ba? O yung ibang mga bata, they want to talk about dark tourism, supernatural tourism. Ano bang gusto niyo sa mga sa mga engkanto? Pwede mo yung mga nabubuhay ang pag-aralan ninyo. Alam mo yung mga ganong bagay. It's because talagang napakadaming ng exposure. So kaya hirap na hirap ang bata sa akin pagka nagpropose ng research, no? It's because probably bias din ako. I have to consider also my personal interest para magkameron ako ng motivation to advise you more. No? And let me tell you, how am I supposed to consider that you are going to have a very good research proposal? You really have to be backed up by very good peer-reviewed articles, without which, let's not talk. I cannot actually advise you without the journals. If your main concern is actually, at hate na hate ko rin ako ng mga no? Yung mga tipong mga bata na ang sasabihin lang sa akin ay abstract, utang na loob, no? Sino magbabasa ako? Wag naman. So, I want you to have the discipline that when you're approaching your advisor, nabasa mo na yung the entire article so that you can confidently tell the advice. Kasi ako for one, no? Baka mamaya in-scan ko lang naman yung paper but you have a better thought because you read it. That's my assumption. Lalong-lalo na pag tinanong ko, so what is the objective, no? What is the objective of this particular article? And you will not be able to tell me, mag-away tayo. Sabi ni Vanessa, agree po. One of the things our prof always tells us, reading is key talaga. That's correct. That's why you are natatawa ko. There's a meme, no? Sabi nga nila, Ba't ang dami mo pinapasulat? Pakibasa nga yung description, pagbasa at pagsulat tungo sa pananaliksik sa Filipino 2, di ba? Tapos magrereklamo ka. Bakit pa ang daming pinapasulat ng teacher? Oh, well, that's something like, a meme already. Parang sabi ko, oo nga naman, ba't ka nagrereklamong bata ka? That's the description. Pagbasa at pagsulat tungo sa pananaliksik sa Filipino 2, di ba? O same with research. Bakit ka nagrereklamo? It's tourism research. Saan ka naman nakakitang research na hindi magbabasa? Di ba? So these are, realities in life. Sabi ko nga, it's a matter of acceptance. You really have to accept, no? Again, tapos na tayo sa journal. Sir Jojo will also agree, and you have to agree with me, since syempre, tumataas ng standard, no? You're not after just a plain library material. I hate that, no? Something that will actually be, sabi ko nga, you have to spend time, money, and effort. You go for articles and journals included in Scopus and Web of Science. Diba? So what you can do, Scopus is actually providing you with the list of accredited journals, even with Web of Science. All you need to do is to have an account with them. I have my account with them. I'm checking which are Scopus articles so that I can actually put it in my references. And who knows, no? Magagamit mo rin ito when the time comes that you are actually, a researcher already. And I'm enjoying the benefits of that, no? Oo. Yun nga lang, pagka minsan hindi ko na monitor, sasabihin sa akin ng isang kong kaibigan, Jo, sinight ni ganito yung paper mo. Ah, ganun ba? O sige, sabi ko, thank you po. Ay, hindi ko naman alam. Oo, di ba? So these are the things that will actually help you on how you guys will actually look for a particular refereed article or perhaps a scholarly journal. Always limit yourself to Scopus and Web of Science. Other than that, huwag na tayo mag-usap. Pag hindi yan Scopus, pag hindi yan Web of Science, huwag na tayo mag-usap. That's correct, no, Christian? That's correct, no? So those are the things that you have to consider. Especially for masteral and doctoral student, mga kapatid, embrace yourselves to Scopus and Web of Science journals. Otherwise, ako, I feel like gagawa ka na rin lang. Pagpusigin mo na lang, di ba? Time, effort, and money, ito yung maganda na, di ba? Yung talagang backup by evidences. Okay? Now, let me tell you also of another tip, no? Pagka wala naman akong access, kasi mga proprietarial ito, it's very, very expensive. I tell my students, do not go for, when you talk about researches, no? You don't go for those articles that you are going to be asked to pay something, no? Sabi ko, wag niyong gagawin yan. Kasi ako, pag nagre-research ka, ako nga, simpleng Google lang, pwede na eh. All you need to do, let's say for example, you just type digital commerce, PDF, always put PDF so that you can download the entire copy of the journal 2021. Yun nga lang, you have to scrutinize. May DOI ba ito? Galing ba to ng Emerald? Galing ba to ng Taylor and Francis? Galing ba to ng ganitong journal? So you really have to scrutinize first the journal before you read. Pagka wala yun sa mga parameters mo, definitely you're not supposed to read it, no? So ako talagang before ako, ang gusto kong topic, nakadetermine ako ng topic with our lesson. So the thing is, you look for the journal. The next step is you look for the journal or the article, di ba? So let's say for example, I type here because my topic is all about digital commerce. I'm only typing digital commerce PDF journal 2021. Dahil it will actually be so relevant if you have like 5 years in terms of the duration, no, when it comes to your research paper, and then it will actually pop out, no, already. So similarly here, you have the e-commerce human resource management academic. So marami pa yan. So just to give you an example on how things are kapag ito ang issue. Ngayon, kung meron namang access to Taylor and Francis, to Scopus, Web of Science, walang problema. I love Taylor and Francis. I'm biased. It's because this is where you will find mostly the business. Of course, you have Science Direct, which is also a very good online databases. But definitely, when you're talking about Taylor and Francis, it talks about business. Ito talaga yung mga field natin, no? O kadalasan, you will find business, tourism, hospitality in Taylor and Francis. Wala naman pala akong bias kasi you guys are all into business. So all you need to do is to look for these things, no? Again, kung walang access sa Taylor and Francis, go back to Google or Google Scholar for that purpose and look for a free one, no? Somehow pasok pa rin dun sa 5 year. Kasi 5 years lang ang duration ng policy ng PUP. So you really have to look into it. Kahit ako, personally, I only ask for 5 years. Other than that, wala na eh. Wala nang saysay yung research paper. It will not help you in, unless historical in nature, no? Unless you're looking into the historical platform or uh, the evolution of a particular phenomenon. So that thing will actually help. But if you're looking at the data on how you're supposed to generate things, look for the digital, look for 5 years, no? Now, another area of interest is that Sir Jojo will always look for the DOI. Somehow it will give you the legitimacy. Of course, Elsevier is also another. No? Pagka talagang ang journal mo is Elsevier, Emerald, wala na tayong pag-uusapan. Huwag mo nang tingnan. Date na lang ang pag-aawayan natin dyan. If you don't find the DOI, forget about it. Why is that so? Because it's required under the APA 7th edition format. No? Dami nating iisipin. Ano? Pero I'm giving you these tips. It's because it will help. It will help. No? Pagkuha pa lang ng journal, you have to scrutinize it. Pagkuha pa lang ng article in a particular online journal or online databases, it will actually help. So go for those with DOI. Somehow it will actually give you certain level of, a big level of legitimacy that is actually a peer-reviewed article or from a scholarly journal. No? All right. Are you still with me? Huh? Am I helping you? Are you still with me? Nadagdagan ba ang kaalaman or pinahirapan ko ba kayo? Because I want to have a casual talk about research. Ayoko kasi masyadong, sobrang ano ba sir? Ang hirap. Sir, sandali lang. Sir, ano ba? Ayoko ng ganon. Kasi um, the more that you'll be pressured eh. Like if I talk about so many although syempre dumaan din ako sa ganon, no, but I want to have a more practical approach when doing research so that it will be more interesting, it will be more inviting. Thank you so much for your messages, no. It helps me a lot on how I supposed to be more motivating in terms of conducting researches and proposals, no. Now, another area of interest would be getting what should be in the journal. Alam mo, tuwang-tuwa ako kapag may mga ganito kang nakikita. Diba? Kasi, ang bilis intindihin eh. Minsan nga, hindi ko na binabasa, tinitingnan ko lang yung framework. Alam ko na kung paano tatakbo yung research proposal mo. And this is a good material for your theoretical framework. Sa mga tamad magbasa at nakakita ka ng ganito sa isang referent article or scholarly journal, kunin mo na kaagad. Although, syempre, tingnan mo muna kung naka-align sa topic mo, ha? Baka mamaya, hindi mo naman talaga align. So, wag mo pagpilitan, no? Again, tip ko yan sa mga bata. If you're looking for a theoretical framework, at total, mamaya, you will actually know that this is actually part of the requirement of the school. Definitely, you have to look for a theoretical framework similar to this. However, mga kapatid, no, theoretical framework may be presented in a diagram or schematic diagram similar to this or narrative, no? So it doesn't necessarily mean ang isang journal ay walang ganitong framework or schematic diagram. Hindi na siya maganda. Some others actually are presenting in a narrative format. Yun nga lang, dalawang purpose niyan. Sa mga tamad, pwedeng ito. Or sa masipag magbasa, they're looking also at anong tawag dito? A narrative format. Kasi sa narratives naman, maganda doon ang reach ng texts, no? Ang reach ng concept, no? So those are the things that you have to consider. Tip ko lang yan sa inyo. Pag may mga ganito, sobrang tuwang-tuwa ako, no? Again, it could be in a schematic diagram or narrative, no? When it comes to the theoretical framework. And then when you talk about those particular articles, definitely go for it, no? And this is what I'm actually sad about, no? Especially for advisors if they are not really pertinent into this kind of things. Sana i-consider nyo talaga that the theoretical framework will be a theory, will be from a study, will be sabi ko nga, no, the conceptual framework of a particular study may be a theoretical framework already of our study, of your study, no? So po pwedeng ganon. Okay? So tip ko yan sa inyo. Mas madali at mas maganda at very legitimate, no? Legit talaga kapag if you will see something like this in a journal. Mas madaling intindihin. Okay? Now, don't get confused with the topic and the title. Medyo, yung mga bata, sir, what's our topic and what's our title? Forget about the title. The title will just come after which, no? Wag mo nang problemahin yung title. The title will have to be aligned still with your statement of the problem and even with your objectives. Don't you agree? Ha? So wala ka pang objective eh. Wala ka pang statement of the problem. Then you will actually work on the title. That's wrong. Ha? So pag nagagawa ng research proposal, you have a topic in mind, you get the journal first before you can actually work on a title. In fact, your title is not yet your title unless it's actually approved by the panel. So dapat ang tawag mo lang dyan is working title all throughout. Di ba? Kapag na-approve, saka mo sabihin title. But if it is not approved, my working title is. That's a very good nomenclature. No? Instead of insisting that this is your title, come on. It's actually humble enough, not telling everyone else that it's going to be your working title. So don't get confused about a topic and a title. Topic is actually the focal point of your study, but there's no name yet in your topic, no? So everything will actually be a working title. Again, it has to be aligned, no, with your research objective and statement of the problem. So these are the things, though, some things that are, very confusing, no, to the minds of the researchers, especially to the undergraduate, no? Diba? Now, let's dig into the school format. Sabi nga nila, again, if you came from senior high school and your senior high school research teachers told you about a particular format, about a particular description, and a particular approach on how to write all these areas, forget about those. It's because you are approaching a new system, a new university. So if that thing will happen, it will be more convincing, it will be more helpful for you uh, to unlearn, no, on the format, but the content, most probably 90% it's just the same, no? Although may na-discover ako, no, I will not name the school, sabi niya, sir, ganito po kasi yung turo sa amin ng ano. Although in some study and in some university talaga makikita mo, you will actually know the difference talaga. But definitely at some point, at some thought, no, it will actually be the same. 90% it will just be the same, no? Now, let's look at the background of the study. According to the manual, no, being given by Sir Rocky, when we talk about the background of the study, of course, we talk about things about the nature of the problem, no? Bakit nabuo yung problema? And that's something that I hate about the students. They don't know what's the problem of the study. Paano nabuo ang nature of the problem. Ako nga, I always tell them. So ako nagbabasa ako ng mga news article, no? Sabi ko nga, how are you supposed to generate that there is, how are you supposed to tell me that there is really a problem? Kung sabihin ba naman the Philippine Airlines laid off 2,500 employees, is that a problem? Abay, oo naman. Diba? So if that is a problem, what particular research are you going to go about in terms of that problem? Oh, so what would be now the statement of the research problem? So I want to know what is it's because based on the university format, it has to be in a question form. No, usually it's answerable by a yes or no, but on a certain perspective, like for example, what is the anong tawag doon? Livelihood, no, or the career opportunities for flight attendants. So that's a statement of the research problem after the layoff of the Philippine Airlines. But of course, no, you're not supposed to use Philippine Airlines in the context. So pwede mo lang sabihin in a general context kasi wala tayong permission. Oh, by the way, in business researches, that's also another issue of concern. In fact, in PUP, saan nga ba to? Forgive me, PUP Bataan yata ito, when I did a talk to them, when I told them, no, in business research, that's something that you have to consider also. We're not supposed to put the name of the brand. end of the company if we don't have any permission. But if you're looking at the presentation, pwede naman as long as you are not going to put it like in the evidence that there is a paper, there is a publication, lalo na sa publication, and you have to put things online. Baka mamaya kasi the company will run after you because of the proprietarial nature. Of course, with the data privacy notice. So, careful lang tayo when we talk about business research. Kaya nga pagka minsan, the locale of the study will actually be the industry already, not anymore on a particular company. Unless, sabi ko nga sa'yo, you were given an authority to do that. And that's something okay also. However, commission researches, most of the time, the likes of the DOT, bawal talaga siyang i-publish. Pero pinayagan naman kami. So walang problema with DOT if you are going to do publish the researches. It's just that when you talk about business, bawal talaga. Kasi wala tayong paalam. So again, that's also something that the College of Business Graduate Studies will also look into. But again, if your purpose is again for publication purposes, baka hindi tayo payagan. Nakakatakot kung tutuusin. And then, of course, you have to go for the objectives of the study. If you have the statement of the problem, what is the alternative or career opportunities for flight attendants, the objectives will actually be identify the alternative sources. So yung ganun ang mga objective to the study. So kung mapapansin mo, from the background of the study, you are to tell me about the nature of the problem, from the statement of the problem, even for the objectives. These are all aligned. And mind you, interestingly, when you talk about your objectives of the study, it has to be aligned with your conceptual framework and or operational framework. Later on, I will tell you the story why. Kaya nga sabi ko, ang mga bata, bago pa lang writing of the research proposal, alam mo na kung ano ang conceptual framework. Because that will actually be the basis also of writing your objectives of the study. Alam mo na ang operational framework mo. Because that will be the basis of your objectives of the study. Tanong, saan mo nakuha ang conceptual framework? Di sa theoretical framework. Saan mo nakuha ang theoretical framework? Di sa referred article na galing sa scholarly journal na dapat ay 5 years lang ito na may DOI. Nakuha? So nakikita mo, it's actually tahi-tahi lang talaga when you talk about research. And that will talk about legitimacy. You're talking about evidences. That's why your objectives of the study will have to be aligned with your conceptual framework. Sabi ko nga sa mga bata, the objectives of the study serve as your textual presentation, and your conceptual framework or operational framework serve as your diagram of the objective. So it should be aligned to one another. If I will not find the consistency, there's something wrong about the paper. Are we okay with that? Kaya nga ako, pag mga mabilisang research paper and I will be sitting as a panel, halimbawa, bukas na yung defense, ngayon na ibigay yung paper, huwag naman yung asahin ako na, I don't have time to read that, no? Oo. So, when that time comes, talagang I'll check the objectives vis-a-vis the conceptual. Tapos pag nakita ko may problema sa data presentation, di may mali na yung buong papel. Oo. But of course, we have remedies into that, no? I will not tell you, baka isipin nyo, yung remedy na lang ang ituro ko. Huwag yung ganon, no? So this is how you're supposed to be consistent. One of the keys in doing research is actually to be consistent. Kung anong sinabi mo sa chapter 1, sa chapter 2, gano'n din pati sa chapter 3. Okay? Now, pag minsan iniisip ko din, and this is always true, no? Even if I'm giving a lecture to my students, sir, but parang ang dali pag dinidiscuss mo. The real battle comes when you are writing it already. And I will not be surprised. Dumaan din ako dyan. Ano ba yung sinasabi ni Sir Jojo? Naku, ang hirap naman magsimula. Paano kung kunin yun sa conceptual framework? Hindi ko naman maintindihan yung conceptual framework kahit binasa ko. Naku, I will not be surprised if you will have that kind of thing, no? So definitely those are areas that will actually be your challenges, no, in doing your objectives of the study. Okay? And then of course, significance of the study. So kanino ba? Sino ba itong mga taong ito? And that will actually be your areas of, sabi ko nga, the beneficiaries of your study. Try to be very specific as much as possible, no? And then, the scope and limitation, no? Sabi ko nga, when you're talking about the scope, you just put your objectives of the study, you rephrase your objectives of the study and put it in your scope. Other than that, you're not going to talk about it, no? Now, if a panel will actually talk about certain area which is not covered in your study, what are you supposed to tell the panel? Thank you very much, ma'am, for addressing that concern. However, the main focus of your study is actually blah, 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 and it's practically in our scope. Much as we want to consider what you suggested, perhaps our effort might actually be not anymore to be aligned with our timeline, 'di ba? Ang ganda-gandang pagkakasabi mo, ano, 'di ba? Para hindi rin mapahiya yung panel kung tutuusin. And of course, you have to tell them about the limitation of the study. Kasi pagka minsan talagang minsan nakikita ko rin yung mga colleagues ko sa pagpapanel, no? Sabi ko nga, grabe naman tong taong itong makapag-comment about limitation of the study. Sabi ko, ano yung, like for example, may defense. Tapos biglang sasabihin ng panel sa bata, you do this, you do this, you do this. And then yung timeline ng school, in 1 week, you have to give back the revisions, otherwise you will fail. Eh di parang sinabi mo rin mag-fail pag sinabi mo talagang, that should be a revision. Tapos bibigyan mo ng grade na major revision lang. Tapos ang sasabihin mo, you have to go back again to the field. Diba parang you're giving false hope to the bata. Well, in fact, hindi naman niya kayang gawin talaga. So ako, let's be practical. No, wala namang masama if you're giving, oh, I'm sorry, but you have to redo everything. Yung mga ganun. Kasi alam mo sabihin mo, come on, hindi kaya. Hindi kaya. So you really have to go to the limitation, no? Kung halimbawa, pagka minsan kasi, sabi ko nga, I'm a very practical person, no? Ayoko nung bibigyan mo ko ng idea na, sir, we're going to have the scientific sampling. Pero pag mga masteral and doctoral, mag-away tayo, ha? Pero pag mga undergraduate, the more that I am very compassionate, no? Parang, wag mo nang pahirapan sarili mo. You go for non-probability sampling, you go for quota sampling together with accidental sampling. It's because it's going to be so tedious on the part. But when you talk about masteral and doctoral, it has to be scientific in nature. You don't have to talk to me if it is not something of a probable sampling. Nako! Si Sir Kapote, nako sir, yan po ang aking problema din talaga, no? Ang educational system kasi natin, sabi ko nga, ang research kasi, high school pa lang, junior high school pa lang, tinuturo na, no? Ako nga, binalikan ko ang senior high school curriculum. I gave also another talk about, are we ready to do research? Sabi ko dun sa mga bata sa college, let me just show you again your curriculum when you were in senior high school. And I found out there are 6 research-related subjects when they were senior high school. Grabe, no? Diba? So sabi ko, wala kang karapatang sasabihin sa akin na pagpunta mo ng college, hindi mo kayang gumawa ng research. Yun ang problema. Diba? Pero I have to agree also with Sir PJ na hindi talaga trained dun sa ano. Like for example, wag naman magagalit yung ibang teacher sa akin. Like sa senior high school, ang pinagtuturo talagang mga fresh graduate, wala pang kaano-ano sa research. So sabi ko, paano to makakatulong? Although, I also taught sa senior high school, sa I-Academy at saka sa Chiang Kai-shek, nagturo ako doon ng entrepreneurship, no, business plan. So nakakatuwang isipin that yung mga ganong level, no, talagang kailangan talaga maganda talaga yung formative years. Kasi mga kapatid, I'm a college teacher. Huwag mo na ako asahang grammar and all. Although grammar you will always be there, no? But I have a certain level of assumption and expectation already when you reach my stage. Come on. Hindi ko na i-discuss what is APA 7th edition. Dapat pinag-aralan mo na yan way back your reading and comprehension in research in way back in senior high school. But I have to agree with you, Sir PJ. Kailangan may orientation ako. What's an APA format? My God, sabi ko nga, ay. Anyway, no? So that's another thing, no? Pero you know what? Pag nagko-question kayo, I really appreciate it. Tapos it flashes back some, areas of interest also that were when I was like discussing things in a different webinar also, no? Challenge ko talaga ang senior high school, no, when it comes to their preparation for research. Um, I was able to talk to the entire Laguna State Polytechnic University. All of them, no, are in one platform. Yes, totoo naman yan, Christine, no? That's correct, Christian. So sabi ko nga sa kanila, the time that they were preparing their research subject for after the first implementation of senior high school, I told them, do not expect too much. Do not expect that since they are already done with their practical research one, which is quantitative, practical research two, which is qualitative. Imagine, they have the subjects of senior high school and until this point in time, pagdating mo sa college, parang wala rin lang. So you have to accept that fact, no? So wag mong iisipin na pagdating sa iyo, we're gonna be talking about topics already. Bigyan mo ng konting refresher. I'm telling you. If that is the approach na gusto mo diretso ka agad, baka mahirapan ka. Bigyan mo ng konting refresher. Isang lecture lang, no? All right. So, are we clear with the background of the study? Now, sabi ko nga sa inyo, kung ako ang masusunod, I'll have this term as literature review. Pero sumusunod tayo sa PUP format, the term is still review of related literature. Pero yung isang paborito kong libro, no? Sabi niya review of related literature and studies. So iba-iba ang nomenclature, no? Iba-iba in jargons. Pero sabi ko nga, since we're looking at PUP, definitely we have to abide with review of related literature. Now, tips ko lang, no more books. Even for undergraduate, I'm not encouraging books anymore. No more books, no more magazines, no more newspapers. Tapos na tayo sa panahong yan, no? So again, katulad din kanina, it has to have like 5 years duration and it has to be thematic. Pag sinabi natin thematic, it has to be aligned with your objectives of the study. That's why it's very important. The heart of your research will actually follow in your objectives of the study. At saan nakukuha ang objective of the study? Sa conceptual or operational framework, naggaling sa theoretical framework, naggaling sa journal, naggaling sa refereed article. So it has to be aligned. The one that you're going to put in your review of related literature should be the themes out of your objectives. Para pagdating mo ng chapter 4, it's going to be easy for you to have the cross-analysis. Well, it's a different area pa rin, no? And align with your objectives of the study, no? Now, konting tip lang when you talk about review of related literature, mga kapatid, nakakainis kasi yung parang may pattern na according to Billiam in 2010, it says, nako, alam mo yung isang paragraph according, another paragraph according, another paragraph according. Ano ito, pattern? No? That's why it is a definition of research. Research is a combination of creative and technical writing. So when you talk about technical writing, you go with the process, you go with the science, no, of doing research. But when you talk about creative writing, so definitely this is where you will put your communication skills in terms of writing. Diba? So you don't follow a pattern when you're talking about research. It has to be a free. Hate na hate ko rin ang bata, no? Pag nagtatanong, sir, ilang page po yan? Ay, sus Mariose. Although, para matapos ang usapan, ako na nagbibigay. Pagdating sa ganito, itong paragraph na ito ang tatanungin, ginaganon ko na kasi that's a common question eh. Di ba? So, para matapos ang usapan, katulad sa scope and limitation of the study, ang sinasabi ko doon, give me 2 paragraphs. The first paragraph is the scope. The second one is for limitation. So you have 2 paragraphs under the subheading about scope and limitation, naka-template na rin sa akin. Kasi most of the time, yan ang mga tanong ng mga bata no? Oo. Para matapos, sige, 2 paragraph, bigyan mo ko. So may ganun akong attitude. Kaya kasi kaysa magtatanong, paulit-ulit. Edi pag-flash ko ng PowerPoint, andyan na. And that will be their guiding tool also. Somehow nakakatulong din, no? But essentially for the masteral and doctoral students, come on. It should be something else, no? Okay? So that will be your challenge with regard to related literature. No more books, no more magazines, newspaper, only referred articles. Okay? Hello? Are you still with me or na out yata ako? Kasi
Yes, sir. Still here with you.
Okay. So, sorry kasi nag-signal yung connecting to servers. I was like thinking na detach ako or whatever. Okay. Kaya pa? Kaya pa? Are you still with me, mga kapatid? Nag-enjoy ba kayo or sobrang ano ba ito? Yeah, that's a good thing. Thank you for staying with me. No, boring talaga ng research, no. That's why I'm actually conversing in a very casual way so that you will actually have a very good absorption, no. Kasi if I will have, of course, in a different platform, I will actually have a different tone, of course, no. Given that particular thing, but when I was like talking to Sir Rocky, he was telling me, sir, do it like your own, so something like that. Yeah, that's correct. No, you never stop learning about research. And even in my case, mind you mga kapatid, no, um, ako kasi, I'm not really into the Filipino traditional format anymore. No, I'm really into the international scene already. Mas gusto ko nga mga researchers naka-IMRED approach na 25 pages, sasabit ko sa isang international. But of course, since we're talking again of a school format, then we have to abide. No, that's the Filipino version and the Filipino culture of writing research. But if you convert it into something like, a publishable, then it's something else. It's a different format also. No. But again, since we are all enrolled in PUP, then we have to follow. Okay? Now, chapter 3 of your typical or conventional research format is all about methodology. But in PUP, chapter 3 is all about your theoretical conceptual framework of the study. Now, if you happen to look for the theoretical framework, it has to be a theory. It has to be, a framework coming from a particular journal. Minsan nga kung tutuusin, it's a matter of copy paste, no? I have to agree with you, Ma'am Bragas. However, yung iba kasi sabi nila boring ka agad. Pero to me, of course, no, it's my bread and butter. I have a consultancy agency, a consultancy firm, no, about our research also. And mind you, during pandemic, I was able to assist some students also in terms of their writing. And somehow, no, it gives me, wala akong sweldo, teacher ako di ba? So wala akong sweldo dahil pandemic, hindi naman ako full-time pa, hindi pa rin ako regular. So wala akong sweldo. So I tried posting also my consultancy. So nagkameron ako ng racket during pandemic. So yun nga lang, ang dami, hindi ko na kaya, oo, di ba? So for the theoretical framework, that's something that you have to take from a particular journal, no, a particular article, no, similar to what we discussed a while ago. Now, sir, what is conceptual and what is operational framework? So conceptual is from the term itself, concepts, no. Where are you supposed to get the concepts, no? From the theoretical framework, sabi ko nga sa inyo, it could be a schematic diagram or narrative. You have to enrich and consider the concepts that you are to see in the theoretical framework, even presented in a narrative format. You take the concepts and you put it in another framework and have the conceptual framework as your own. Okay? However, how are we supposed to differentiate it from the operational framework? If we are to omit, lalo na yung mga hindi naman applicable sa area natin. Kasi di ba pagka minsan ang gaganda ng mga theoretical framework na nakikita natin, kaso hindi naman applicable sa area natin. For one, no, when I was like doing my when we were doing our commission research for farm tourism under the Department of Tourism, we were able to find out that there are practices in New Zealand when it comes to farm tourism. Ang daming consideration doon about winter climate and culture. So we have to take that away as a consideration in terms of accreditation for the Department of Tourism. So it's a no-no. No, it's a no-no also. So this is where you will actually draft another framework, which is the operational framework. No? So from the theoretical for the conceptual and operational framework. Now, the operational framework is a must. It depends. If you are going to omit something, add something, then it becomes your operational framework. No? Now, looking at the hypothesis or proposition of the study, what's the difference? Hypothesis is purely for quantitative, and proposition is actually for the qualitative. So that's something that you have to really put into consideration when we discuss about hypothesis or proposition of the study. No? Um, Dagdag ko rin lang, no, talagang sabi ko nga, if you are really a teacher, it's really should be in our part of our life, no. Ako nga, I would like to believe as a teacher, at least once a year we have to complete a research study. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, kasi especially if you are in a university wherein 25% of your performance appraisal is based on research, so wala kang magagawa. You really have to, you know, love and embrace that kind of thing. At saka, it will give you a lot of boosting confidence, no? When you talk about research, because no one can actually question you because that's your research, di ba? Sabi ko nga, let me just tell you, no? Alam niyo ba ang mga tourism students, lahat yan gusto maging flight attendant. Ngayon, ang ginawa ko, challenge ko yung concept na ganoon. Tinanong ko yung mga HR managers ng lahat ng airline companies sa Pilipinas, kahit tatlo lang ang respondents nila, lahat naman ay HR managers. Grabe, sobrang pinayagan. And the result was really, really fantastic. You know what? Talagang they defer the misconception na kapag ka flight attendant, ang gusto nila ay tourism. No. You know what's their preference? Nursing. Because of the life skills that they have. Diba? Saving life skills. That's something that, you know, tourism majors do not have. No? Anyway, so again, the hypothesis and proposition should also reflect in your operational framework. Kaya nga pag minsan nakakita ka ng mga H1, H2, H3 dun sa mga framework, that's because they're actually looking into also the hypothetical concept they have to embed in the theoretical, in the conceptual or operational framework. No? So those are the things that you have to consider in terms of hypothesis. Now, what about assumptions of the study? No? You know what, yung iba talagang hirap na hirap pag sa assumption of the study. Kasi ako, for one, no, ano ba ang dapat ina-assume mo when you are doing a research study? So let's say, for example, your target respondent. You have to assume that only the front office personnel will be able to give you the best idea when it comes to your research topic. So that's an assumption of the study. Ina-assume mo na you are thinking that this sets of respondents will be the one to give you the best result already. So those are areas of concerns when you talk about assumptions, no? And of course, part of chapter 3 using the PUP format is all about the operational definition of terms. There are two things, the conceptual definition and the operational definition. Ako hindi ko talaga ini-entertain yung conceptual definition. Bakit? Kasi may citation of resources. Kinuha ko po sa ganitong journal. Haba ng haba ang references ko. Tapos i-APA format ko pa. Ako tinatamad magsulat. So I'm always looking for the operational definition of term because this is how you're supposed to use the term in your study. Let me give you an instance, no? Sabi ko nga sa mga bata, when you talk about market in marketing, taong ibig sabihin because these are talking about the actual and potential buyers. Diba? I think the marketing majors here will have to agree. But if you're talking about market in economics, It's a place. Tindahan ito, palengke. Diba? But if you're looking at market in culinary, you talk about purchasing. So talagang bibili, magma-market lang ako. So imagine in one term, you have three disciplines to identify which one are you going to use. This is the beauty of operational definition of terms. You get the logic? Say for example, when you talk about discipline, discipline may actually be the set of rules or ethical standards, but discipline may also be your profession. So these are terms that you have to, identify which one are you going to do or which one are you going to use when you talk about research thing. Kaya yung iba iniisip nila, kaya ako, pag may hindi ako alam na term sa isang research, sa title pa lang, ang bongga ng research, di ba? The title pa lang talagang, ano ba ito? Parang title pa lang, hindi ko na maintindihan kung ano ang title. At kapag wala yan sa operational definition, lagot ka sa akin. Kasi papa-explain ko sa iyo, what do you mean by this term? Why is it not part of your operational definition? So always remember that when you put things in your title, it has to appear in your operational definition. Moreover, with your objectives. Okay? Are you still with me? Kaya pa? Huh? It's 11:06. Are you still with me? Ayan. Thank you so much, no? Sige. Um, you might find things are very, very easy, but the real battle comes when you are practically doing it, no? So let's move on to the last part of the research proposal based on the school format, no? Um, okay, saan ako? So when we talk about methodology, sabi ko nga kanina, no, before ka pa dumating dito, because you're going to write it anyway, alam mo na kaagad. So it will be easy for you to know about your research local, no? Let me tell you a story. I have set of students, hindi talaga sila nag-check, although naintindihan ko naman kung bakit. They were proposing to have the ITAs. Kasi there was a time yung mga ITA ginagawang mga crew sa mga restaurant sa Pampanga. And they were looking at the competency levels of the ITA kasi ang purpose nila is to give training programs exclusively for the ITAs as part of the community extension as well if that research will actually push through. Pagdating nila dun sa area, nag-close na pala yung restaurant. Eh di wala nang saysay ang study. Pero dahil nandun na lang sila, what will be your contingency now? You ask those who were able to dine in that particular restaurant and tell us how are they performing as a crew of that restaurant. That makes the scenario a lot more, almost the same, no, when it comes to, almost the same when it comes to your intention. But you have to be ready for your contingency plan. Diba? So sabi nga dito, what about your research local? What about your proposal? Saan gaganapin? What about your research design? Is it quantitative, qualitative, and mixed method? Huwag muna natin pag-usapan yun. It talks about 2 hours also of discussion. What are the types of the quantitative and qualitative? Even the mix approach, the consequential and the consequential, no, types of a mixed design, di ba? Ang dami din nun. And of course, the sampling design, di ba? You're talking about the probability and the non-probability sampling. Madaming types of sampling design, no? And I hope your teachers will be the one to tell you because kung dito ko yan gagawin, baka hindi lang 2 oras ang kailangan nating gugulin. But just to tell you, no, just to tell you that this is how you're supposed to do a research proposal. And of course, the research instrument. Sabi ko nga, wag na wag kang gagawa ng research proposal without the research instrument being attached. Para mas maganda. Kasi nangyayari, pinapacheck pa uli sa panel. Eh di mas maganda, yan ang goal in every defense. I-approve mo ang research instrument. Kung okay ng research instrument, that's the time you have a go signal to the students. Pero kung wala, hindi ko aaprubahan ang research proposal. Kasi gusto ko makita yung questionnaire if it is aligned with the objective. Ha? That's why it's very important that you have to attach your or whatever is the research instrument. If this is an interview or focus group discussion or IDI, then you have your discussion guide, no? And of course, the statistical treatment of data. I heard it from the dean in terms of expectations when it comes to statistics, no? Now, statistics is very, very important. Now, I will tell you, if you don't have that kind of anong tawag dito, confidence, no, with regard to statistical treatment, I would suggest as early as now, try to coordinate with a statistician, no? Kasi the determination of your objectives will also rely on what particular tools you're going to have for your statistics. Kasi bihira-bihira din lang yung mga advisor na marunong sa quanti, marunong sa quali, at marunong sa statistics, at marunong sa qualitative data. Bihira yon. Bihira yon. And I for one, I have my own weaknesses, no? So these things are, really work in progress. Pero kapag nakakuha ka ng ganong klaseng advisor, sabi nga ng mga colloquials natin, tiba-tiba ka doon. The more that you will appreciate the advisor. And I think that's something, that one of the characteristics of a particular research advisor, the appreciation of quantitative, qualitative, and statistics and qualitative data. No, but of course, you're only human. You have your own expertise. Ako, I for one, sabi ko nga sa inyo, let's not talk about financial management. Malay ko niyan. But I know how to read because financial statements like return of investments and other ratios, I love reading all those things. I love math. I used to compete when I was in high school. Ewan ko ba? Diyos ko. I love statistics. Even the advanced statistics, ako makipag-away ako sa iyo yan. At hate na hate ko mga bata kapag alam mo yung the conclusion will just end telling me, sir, there is a, di ba normally pag mga hypothesis natin, you will just mention, is there any significant study, is difference and relationship? Sasabihin mo lang sa akin sa conclusion, yes sir, there is a significant difference. Tapos, and so, what is the implication of that particular hypothesis? May I see in the recommendation on how did you use the result of your hypothesis in terms of your recommendation? Wala na. Wala nang nasabi ang bata, no? Kasi ang akin, nagpatulong ka nga, but you're not able to appreciate the intention of your statistical data, especially your hypothesis. Remember, hypothesis is also indicated in your objectives of the study. Diba? So you just have to put in the hypothesis section, but it has to have its complementing statement or interrogative question or objective, specific objective in your research, no? In your background of the study. So, alam mo yon, dapat yung hypothesis, kahit nasa chapter 3 pa lang siya, naka-reflect din siya dun sa una with regard to the objective of the study in terms of your chapter 1. No? Kaya nga sabi ko sa inyo, pagdating sa chapter 4, you appreciate naman the data. Pinaghirapan mong kunin tapos yun lang ang sasabihin mo sa akin that there is significant relationship. And so what? So tell me about the implication of those things. Huh? So ako alamin, I'm not going to pressure you or allow you perhaps to dig into the details kung ayaw mo talaga, but it will also be an advantage on how you know how to compute for it, no? Ayun. And it's very important for your research instrument also to go under, the reliability, the phase and content validity testing. Sabi ko nga, I always require when you are into, pero kung ikaw ay undergraduate or even masteral, no, if you're going to have an adapted questionnaire, you don't need to do reliability. Highly encouraged, no, to the undergraduate students to adapt the questionnaire. Yun nga lang, talagang if-force fit mo siya sa objectives of the study mo. For masteral naman, it can be a basis, no? Oo. Again, if you are looking, thank you, Sir Rocky, for telling me. So again, if you are looking into this aspect, the more that I will actually require you to have a reliability or a pre-testing study. Callback alpha lang ito. And of course, the phase and content validity. You ask someone else, an expert in the field, to look into your choices or probably a grammarian for that purpose. So that in its sense will actually give you an appreciation of your research instrument. Now, let me give you as my final, just to share, no? So the call for research proposal. So this is my experience. Sabi ko nga sa inyo, it's a different package, no? That's why sabi ko sa inyo, you love research in a sense that will actually be on a social relevance level, no? So this is what I'm actually way back May 31 when DOT released their research grant. So this is their outline. So I have a title of a multi-criteria assessment of the Department of Tourism, accredited farm tourism sites in Region 4A. So you have the background of the study. Of course, if I have to jump also to the framework and methodology, we visited 13. So when we discover it's 13 na pala, the time that we're conducting the study, DOT accredited farm tourism sites in Calabarzon area, and we were able to visit that. And the best thing there, no, you have to have their time schedule and of course the budget. And we were granted with the budget. Sabi nga nila, maliit pa lang daw yan. Pero nakalibot ka man lang sa salabing tatlong DOT accredited farm tourism site, kumain ka, natulog ka, not bad at all. And of course, you have the bragging right. You're part of the first batch of research grant. No? So this is where we actually have our presentation with the Department of Tourism. No, we have a group. Of course, we actually presented to now the Assistant Secretary Alabado, no, of the Department of Tourism. So there's nothing wrong doing research, no, and I'm posting this not because I want you to be I want to brag about things, but I want you to be inspired and motivated. And with that, marami pong salamat. I hope I was able to inspire, motivate, and encourage you to have a very good research proposal. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat, and thank you for the opportunity of talking to the College of Business Graduate Studies. Maraming salamat po.
Wow. Before anything else, let us all give a warm virtual round of applause to our Professor Jojo Villamin. Ayan. Grabe. We would be entertaining questions, so please utilize our chat box for any questions or comments. Pwede here sa Zoom, pwede rin sa FB Live natin. Yet, let us use this platform to further our knowledge in writing a research proposal. Grabe, Prof. Jojo, that is such a fun, engaging, and powerful presentation. I was wondering, sabi mo, it was gonna be boring, but we actually have our group chat ng mga classmates ko, and we were all in awe. And one of the things that really hit me the most is when you said something will only be relevant and fruitful when you put your heart and mind to it. More than thinking of it as a mere requirement, no? Andito na rin lang tayo. Why not put our focus and passion into it? Para saan? Para kanino? Bakit ba natin to ginagawa? Ano ba purpose natin? Sabi nga ng one of our more than 120 participants here in Zoom, knowing our purpose is a great way to kick it off. Ako personally am having a really hard time to think about my own research topic. My eyes are on a certain topic, but my mind is just everywhere. Sabi ko nga, my mind map is so sabog. But this session for sure will help me put everything in context. And I know I'm not the only one feeling that way. So tignan natin ang ating chat box for questions. I believe I have one here. Sabi,
Vanessa, shout out ko lang si former Professor Erwin, Dr. Erwin Corda. Hi, sir. It's nice to see you virtually also. Thank you, sir.
Nice to see you.
hello.
Hope we can work together.
Yes, sir.
Ayan. So, come on, send in your questions. Ang dami. Sobrang warm ng appreciation. Oh. So, I believe we have one question. What controversies do we have regarding the research topic to choose?
What controversies?
Yeah, I think that's what I got here. One moment.
Di ma'am. Meron a website.
So sorry. All right. So I think the question goes like, what are the controversies in choosing a research topic? Tama ba ako?
Yes, sir. I believe so, yes.
Okay. The controversies, napaka-socially nito, in terms of context, no? Walang controversies. No? The way I look at it now is actually, I'd like to pick up what you actually mentioned about you're practically sabog, you're practically everywhere, and you don't know how to pinpoint which one will actually be, should be the right format or right research topic. Ako, it will always boil down to what's the problem talaga. I always entertain the problem again. When I was looking at the farm tourism, let me just share with you, no? So, nung nag-propose ang Department of Tourism with the topic about farm tourism, I searched for some areas of concern. And one is the accreditation level. Mahal ang accreditation ng farm tourism at walang napapala ang farm tourism owners sa accreditation. Is that a problem? Yes. That's why I dig hard to the accreditation level. And it comes like the proposal is a marketing plan for the Department of Tourism to really motivate and encourage them to go under the accreditation, because the Department of Tourism will actually resonate the fees that the owners are paying. So if that is the context, no, of looking at the problem first, I think it will be easier for you to contextualize your research problem. Kasi ang problema, uh, yung iba will also be, aside from that, no, I always consider the problem first. Yung iba, di ba, wag naman magagalit yung iba. Kasi mostly, well, guilty din naman ako dito, Vanessa, for one, no? Gusto ko yung research ko magiging sikat.
Yeah.
Gusto ko yung research ko magiging kaiba-iba. Gusto ko yung research ko, ako lang ang nakapag-alam. O gusto ko bago. Gusto ko ako lang. Something that will actually be making a name for yourself. Okay lang yon. There's nothing wrong with that. But that makes it so hard for you. Because everything else now in the world, Google will answer. Diba? So, ako, you don't need to be in that level wherein you're gonna be bragging about yourself just to create or just to have a research paper that will tell you about being boastful. Sorry for the lack of a better term. No? Again, if there is an existing problem, this is where I will find the research so relevant, so useful, and so instrumental. So I think the controversy will actually be looking at sabog ideas. Two would be probably your personality goes into that of making your research to be, a famous one, similar to what we're hearing in most cases. And I think one of the controversies also in choosing a research topic is wag pong magagalit ng iba kong mga co-advisor dito at faculty. Ako as a researcher, kung galing po ako sa undergraduate level at sa masteral at doctoral level, I always tell this one to all the students. You are making a research paper somehow, not only for yourself, but also for your advisor. Because at the end of the day, your advisor will fight for you during the defense because you have him or her as your ally. So the controversy comes with, sabi ng advisor ko eh. And that's also another controversy when you're choosing a research topic. Kaya nga sabi ko sa iyo, you go for the advisor that will actually somehow be interested, or the forte will come also on the research topic that you want to propose. So those are the things that I have to consider as part of the controversies. Again, one is the sabog ideas. Second, the controversy of you yourself to be famous somehow because you want to know, you want to have that kind of peculiarity perhaps. And the third would be, of course, the advisor's level also of expertise. No, that will also be some of the controversies, not necessarily on that edge, but a manageable one, if I may say so. Ayun. Thank you.
Ang ganda. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, we have another question here, and it says, what are your thoughts on conducting a qualitative research during this time of pandemic? Ayan, very timely.
You know what? To be honest with you, lumaki si I'm 42, Vanessa. So, lumaki akong quantitative.
Quantitative.
Na
Okay.
parang ang dating sa akin ng qualitative, nako, ano lang kayo, supplementary lang kayo, no? But you know what, the innovation of research at this point in time will actually talk about uh, that you have to embrace also certain modalities, certain philosophies, and school of thoughts, no? In order for you to embrace what's the current situation. So sabi ko nga sa inyo, research is not something a stable thing. This is something like you have to innovate also. And imagine, no, the time that qualitative comes into the picture, wala na ako hindi na ako nag-aaral, nagtuturo na ako. So I have to learn all those things. And why do I have to answer you in that manner? Because I embrace it. And when you're asking me if this is something like times of pandemic, the more that I will love it. Bakit? Hindi ka kasi pwedeng lumabas for qualitative research. Quantitative, pwede ka mag-online platform, pwede you on for a survey material, but I'd love to hear, no, because you're talking about emotions, most especially of this time of pandemic, that you cannot actually cover for a quantitative research study. So the more that I will appreciate qualitative researches during the time of pandemic, because you're talking about the emotional component of the researcher. Kasi you have to understand the situation. And if that goes for understanding and something like that, definitely qualitative is an answer on how to address these things. However, Vanessa, may I also tell you about certain culture, no? Certain culture. Kapag ang eskwelahan will not embrace those kinds of researches, even if you want to, even if Sir Jojo will tell you can embrace that kind of thing, baka mahirapan ka din. So you really have to understand also the research culture of a particular organization. No? It's also true for a journal. So let's say, for example, you want to publish a particular research paper, you have to know the culture of the journal. If it is something like Asians will not be allowed in a particular journal at marami yun, huwag ka na mag-insist. Huwag mo nang pagpilitan. Iba na pala yung pinag-uusapan natin, Vanessa, no? Oo.
Huwag natin
Pero,
ipilit.
oo, that's true, that's true. I'm telling you, no? So you have to know first the research culture. So, if you are confident enough of a research culture, then I would say, sabi ko naman sa'yo, it's not, mas magaling yung qualitative sa quantitative or mix. It will always depend upon your statement of the problem, your purpose, and objectives. Ayun.
Thank you, sir. Very true. No, kailangan talaga natin i-embrace and i-understand ang culture at wag natin pagpilitan ang mga bagay na hindi naman dapat. Sir, humugot ka pa. Okay, next question we have here is, how do you find the research culture of PUP and its people?
Okay. Forgive me if my basis will be the College of Tourism, Hospitality, and Transportation Management, because this is where I was invited several times already prior to me joining the college. I think I'm a resident, if there's such a term, and I'm a resident panel of CTHTM for I think 4 years already, and I would say that they are really adhering to being, cannot deny the fact that there is technology will always be there. They're looking into nutrition concept. They're looking into something of an output base, community based, and of course extension based, no, researches. That's a culture that I was able to discover with PUP, both with tourism and hospitality. Not to brag about those things because I'm part of the college, but that was before. That was before. And in fairness, medyo hindi napapansin siguro ang literature, but in my case, when I was invited as a panel, the more that I'm actually looking at the usefulness and importance of literature in terms of looking into because when you talk about technicality, being a polytechnic for that purpose, medyo nasa set aside ng literature. But if you're looking at the real sense of the literature review, na-embrace naman at natutuwa ako. So they're very, how do I say, welcoming of, and very, very welcoming of the idea. They're not really close-minded people. So that's how I find the research culture. And mind you, no, talagang the intention is really for publication, for extension purposes, and for community extension purposes. So that's how I find research culture. But in terms of technical areas, let's say, for example, if you're looking at quantitative, qualitative, they're open into that as long as there is logic when it comes to the reasoning. So that's how I actually define the culture of PUP in terms of CTHT. And forgive me if I'm not really into, I cannot say something about the entire PUP research culture because my scope and my background is really limited also. Pasensya na po.
Maraming salamat, sir. Nakaka-proud talaga maging PUP yan. I actually graduated also or had my undergrad in PUP too, and I am proud of being a PUP. Okay, I think everyone here would agree with me na talagang ang ganda, sir, ng topic yun, even the deck that you presented. So there was a question if pwede ba daw pong ma-share ang inyong PowerPoint so that we could also, habang gumagawa kami ng research proposal namin, we could also look into it, ganyan, after this seminar.
Walang problema. I'll give it to Sir Rocky. Walang problema.
Ayan, classmates. And everyone here in the call, thank you so much for your questions. At ipopost natin yung PowerPoint or send it to you, whichever would be more convenient. And if you guys still have more questions you wish to ask, we will be collating them and send them to our speaker. Okay po ba yan, Sir Jojo? Yay! All right. On behalf of everyone here today, thank you so much